Hello, guys. Hello, hello.
Lecture.
Yeah. Okay. I sincerely apologize because the internet connection here is disconnected a moment ago, and right now I decided to use my personal hotspot, mobile hotspot, in order to secure. Hmm. Okay. I'm sharing the screen right now. Okay. Wait. Okay. So can you guys right now see the slide?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Very good.
Yes, lecture.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Okay. So right now we get back to our teaching session. Wait. Okay, today it's gonna be the most interesting session ever because we're gonna look at the very different and also very what should I say? Very pivotal parts of the lecture of the WTO platform. It is about tariff measure. I think when you study international trade law or international trade, you always hear the word tariff, tariff. What does it mean by the word custom UT, tariff, financial charges? Okay, you might question about the differences. So today we're gonna make ourselves clear, okay, about these differences of keyword that are the most important term or terminology that are used in the context of international trade, especially when you are the trade negotiator. You need to know this kind of definition of keywords. Okay. Okay. So before I start my lecture, I normally start with the notion that I'm gonna share some answer as my counter answer to my question. The first one is what are the tariff measures? I think you know quite well. I don't have any very long or very interpretative definition, but let me say tariff measures are the measures that are about tariff. Okay, I don't want to make it just like tariff measures are something that are imposed along the border. No, it might be very confusing with other measures that are also simultaneously applied at the border. So I might just say tariff measures are the measures that are applied in a way of using tariff. Okay. So the question is that what do you mean by the word tariff? Okay, so I'm gonna explain in the next slide. Okay, so again, tariff measures are the measures that are applied in the way of tariff using the tariff and apply at the border of international trade transaction. Okay, and what are the pros and cons of the tariff measure? I think you know quite well when we impose tariff measure for the government, we can actually generate a lot of revenue for our national development plan. For example, if the government want to build some road, some physical infrastructure in the country, they need to gain income, okay, from the investment, but at the same time need to get income from the impositions of the border tariff measure. Okay, tariff measure on the imported good. For example, if you import more than 3,000 cars per month, the government can generate. You can we can imagine just like 300% of the overall price of the overall car. Okay, so you can imagine if we import more than uh, a million US dollars. So the national revenue, the income from the tariff from the car will be the multiplication of 300 percent of the overall price of the car that we just mentioned a moment ago. So here is one important benefits that the government always prefer to use tariff measure to generate the national revenue for the government to develop something else. Second thing, by imposing tariff measure, they can also promote the local production capacity, meaning that if we are very free to allow the imports of certain goods and services, our local production capacity will be very less competitive. It means that we are not able to compete. Might high quality. They are used by the very high skill and very old established company in the foreign country, while we our company are very infants, are very new, are very newly established. So we have no enough skill, enough production capacity to produce high quality goods. So our infant industry will not be able to to operate for long, because we cannot compete with the foreign goods that are allows for import without using tariff measure. That is why the government decided to impose tariff measure in order to allow space for the local infant industry to promote their production capacity, and also to promote their future competitiveness, okay, with the foreign good, with the foreign company, okay. And the government might also impose some tariff measure in order to keep up its level playing field, meaning that if you open too much, in the future you will have nothing to negotiate for others, because when you negotiate with others in the future, you will need some things for them, or you will need to have something for them to bargain with you. But if you are right now opening for everything, so in the future, if you want to talk with somebody with some other state, they will not give you anything, because you already give them everything since the beginning right now. But if you reserve some space, for example, right now you open only for a very few product, and then the rest of the product are under the high tariff regime. In the future, you will be able to use this kind of uh, small market access, okay, for the good, to talk with them, to begin to get something from them, okay. So that is why some government decided to restrict their import of foreign good in order to use it as a card, in order to talk with the foreign government, foreign countries, okay, regarding trade negotiation. Because when you are open from the beginning, you have nothing to talk in the future, okay. So that is also one important aspect of pros of using tariff measure. But at the same time, when you impose tariff measure along the border very much, or very high, or very often, or again everyone, you will not be able to uh, uh, promote what we call the technological transfer, okay, technology transfer. Because when you impose tariff on everything, you have no innovation, because you have no foreign good coming in to compete with your local infant industry, so they have no motivation to work harder. They will just, I'm fine with the current status of the government provided to me, because the government do not allow the foreign good to come in. Just let it be. Enjoy. Do not need to compete. Do not need to innovate our technology or to improve our capacity. Just let it be, because we are right now standing alone in the market. No, that is why uh, that is the cons of using tariff measure. Okay, meaning that when you impose high tariff, you have no inflows of the foreign good, and then have no transfer of technology. At the same time, when you impose high tariff on foreign good, you will restrict the options of consumption by our local consumer. Meaning that if you free the market, no tariff on import, more foreign good will be coming to Cambodia, and then foreign company can supply the meet the needs of the Cambodian consumer. For example, right now, if you want to use car, you have a very variety of choice of consumption of the car. We can get Lexus from United Arab Emirates. We can Saudi Arabia. We can also get the BMW from Germany, or some other car from the US, some other brand new car from the UK. So by not imposing, or by imposing high tariff on this product, you will limit the choice of consumption of our consumer. Okay, so it's very important to strike a balance between promoting local infant industry, but at the same time promoting the choice of consumption of our local consumer. Because if we restrict the import of everything, our poor people will not be able to afford something at affordable price, because local goods are mostly sold at high price due to our limited resources of production. So we need to utilize the scale resource, okay, the scale resource, and then the cost of production will be high, and then we will force our people to consume, to buy our product, our locally produced product at a high price. But if we allow foreign goods to come in, our people have more choice of consumption. All right, they can use either Lexus, Range Rover, Land Cruiser, okay, whatever car that they prefer, depending on their consumption preferences. Okay, so we create the choice for them. Okay, is tariff a burden for consumer and the user? Indeed, it is the burden for both. Okay, for the consumer, if you impose high tariff, consumer will need to pay more price for the imported good. But for the producer, user, when your product are right now facing higher tariff, you have less motivation to use product, because What is the sense of using a lot of our facing a very high number of or high degree of a tariff measure imposed by the foreign government. Okay, so it's very important to screen their loss and benefit. Okay, especially from the perspective of consumer and the user when we impose tariff, because tariff normally reduce the burden or the measure the pressure for the consumer and the user simultaneously. And is tariff made the most popular for criticism? In the past, indeed, but right now, tariff measure is no longer the most popular topic for criticism. What the world leader are right now criticizing are not tariff. It's not tariff. It is about non-tariff measure. For example, ISPS, TBT, or technical barrier to trade, or what we call packaging standard, and so on. All right. So these non-tariff measures are right now become the most popular topic of criticism, while tariff is quite easy for negotiation right now. And how many types of tariff measure I'm going to explain in the next slide. And will tariff measure be reused or eliminated in the future? We cannot say that in the future there will be the elimination of tariff measure. No, we can only reuse, we can only lower down the tariff level, but we cannot eliminate, because tariff is the legally permissible instrument that the government use in order to generate an income, okay, in order to promote in finance industry that I just mentioned in question number 2, okay. And are regulation on tariff measure sufficient or efficient enough to that right now? So far, there are still intensive negotiation on the reduction of tariff measure, and still we need more regulation, more table, more forum to promote this kind. Okay. I'll move on to second slide. Hello, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes, lecturer.
Okay, very good. Okay. Okay. Get WTO tariff negotiation. Okay. Tariff barrier include custom duty, and other charges on import and also on export. When we talk about tariff, as I said in the very first session with me so far, we always refer to the tariff, the tax on import, the tax on import. But normally, but in some cases, tariff can also be referred to the tax that we impose on export. But normally, export it in the present world, we rarely see the tariff on export. In Cambodia, we used to have before 2016 what we call it as the export management fee, EMIF. But right now it has been eliminated because it creates the barrier for export for our local producer. So we want to promote export for them. We are right now facing the import tariff by the other party. So why do we need to impose export tariff for our local consumer, local producer to face more pressure, to face more challenge for export? That is why in 2016, the government of Cambodia, especially the Ministry of Commerce, decided to eliminate export management fee measure, okay, on export. So right now we only face the tariff and non-tariff measure from the foreign country, but when we export from Cambodia, we have no barrier from the Cambodian government side. And my ministry, by removing this measure, we lost a lot of profit, more than 22 billion US dollar per year for the ministry. But we are happy to do so as long as we promote we encourage our local producer to produce more, okay, in order to supply the global demand, okay, without export management fee pressure anymore, okay. And again, tariff barrier include custom duty and UT. And you might question, what does it mean by custom UT or UT? Okay, I'm gonna explain in the next slide. Okay? And when we negotiate on tariff, in principle, we always look at the what we call principle of reciprocity. Reciprocity in Khmer Padeka, it means give and take. Okay, you cannot say I'm gonna give you and then you will not take something from me, or you must give some things to me, but I will not give you in return. You will not take something from me. Okay, so it is not the principle. The principle is reciprocity, meaning that if you provide something for your trade negotiator counterpart, you need to also get something. If I want to take something from you, I also need to give something to you as well, because it is the principle that was aligned under Article 2 of GATT 1947-1994. Okay, so the principle in give and take always happen in all course of negotiation. Okay, because negotiation is about give and take. You cannot just I give you or you give me, but I will not give you anything. No, it is not about unilateral offer like the GSP or EPA. Okay, we have different exemption. Okay, and in the very early year of GATS in 1946, 1947 to 1980s, the approach for negotiating on tariff measure mostly apply on the basis of product by product. Meaning that they will check one product line by line and then screen the product one by one. So you can imagine more than 3,000 products. How many days that we need to consume, that we need to spend in order to count the tariff level product by product. That is why right now, in the last year, late year of GATT, in 1980s up until right now, the World Trade Organization member decided to apply the across the board approach or linear approach, meaning that we do not look at the product line by line, but we look at the sector by looking at the subheading. 2-digit, 4-digit, 6-digit, and 8-digit. I'm going to explain in the next slide. Don't worry about the across the board approach and linear approach right here. And tariff barrier is very important in good. As I said, we impose the barrier or tariff barrier on good, but we rarely impose barrier tariff measure on service, because service is very intangible, it's very abstract. You cannot qualify, you cannot quantify the service that you perform in order to impose tariff. If the good, for example, one iPhone, if the price of one iPhone is $1,000, we have the price at stake to calculate tariff measure. And then we have to pay, for example, if you need to pay 30% of the tariff on the $1,000 iPhone, it will amount, for example, $300. Okay, $300. But for service, how can you quantify service to calculate the tariff for imposing on the service supplier? Let's say that if I'm the British teacher, then I want to perform my teaching or my educational service in Cambodia, how can you impose tariff on my service? Okay, because my service is very abstract. Okay, what else that can be considered as service? For example, medical treatment. How can you impose the tariff on medical treatment? Because it is something abstract. Medical advice. Okay, you cannot quantify. You cannot make it a number. Okay, you cannot, to make it simple, something that is abstract, something that is intangible, that we cannot touch, we can only hear, we can only feel, but we cannot touch. Okay? It's very hard or very impossible to impose tariff. But for good, for example, one car, one iPhone, okay, a pair of shoes, one watch, okay, or some other accessories, some other good that are imported or exported from one country to another, will be very easy to quantify. 1, 2, 3, one pair, two pair, 1 kilogram, 2 kilogram, okay, 1 square meter, 2 square meter, okay. So it's very easy to quantify, to measure, and then apply tariff right away. But service, impossible. Okay. And bound rate, okay. Normally in the WTO negotiation, we always have what we call bound rate and apply rate. Bound rate is the selling rate. Okay, wait. So okay, welcome back. During the negotiation, the member always have two types of tariff. First one we call bound tariff rate, and second one is applied tariff rate. The bound tariff rate refers to the rate that is the highest, the maximum rate that you are willing to apply. Okay, let's say that if you want to impose tariff on mango import into the country, the bound rate for mango that you will apply for the imports of mango from the foreign country will be 20%. Okay, so 20% is the bound rate that it will be there, the maximum level. You can apply in reality, in actuality, you can apply 1% to 20% because 20% is the bound rate. In the microeconomic term, we call it selling. Okay, I think you know about price selling, price floor. Okay, so price selling is the maximum level of the price that the government will be willing to take. But the same as bound rate, we refer to the rate of tariff that is the maximum level that the member that is committed to that is willing, okay, to apply. But we cannot apply the actual rate over the bound rate because bound rate is what we have committed. It is the maximum, okay, price selling that you are willing to apply, but you cannot apply right higher before that. Okay, you can apply from 1 to 20, but you cannot apply higher than the 20%, which is called bound rate. Okay, and bound rate on product mostly increase for developed country while remaining low for developing country, meaning that developed country, when the export go to the poor country, they always face high bound rate. Okay, the product for developed country always face high bound rate, meaning that when they apply, when they export to the developing country, they will need to pay high bound rate. Okay, because the bound rate by developing country is very high. Why? Because poor country or developing country always need tariff measure as the instrument to generate income. Okay, but for the developed country like the US, Canada, okay, and so on, they they do not increase high bound rate for the product from the poor country, but they apply what we call non-tariff measure. As I said, they apply SPS, they apply technical measure to restrict the import of goods and services from the developing country, a poor country. Okay, I think it's very complicated, but don't worry, I'm gonna explain in the next slide. We have details, snapshot of each point that I'm gonna explain later on. Okay. I don't ask you whether you are okay or not, because I know that this is only a snapshot. You just need to know a little bit, and then we're gonna make it into a detailed fashion in the next slide. Okay. So don't worry, keep it simple and listen carefully. Okay. What is custom duty on import? Okay. If you go to see WTO law, trade law, especially GATT 1944, 1947, or 1994, there is no definition of the word custom duty on import. That is why the word custom duty has been the main subject of many conflicts so far. For example, the conflict between China, US, Canada, and EU in 2009. They also question the application of financial charge as the custom duty. Okay. EU, Japan, EU, Canada, and the US found that China apply the financial charge in China for the good from EU, good from Canada, and good from the US. Okay, so the financial charge that China apply on the foreign good from EU, from Canada, and from US were not consistent with the Chinese commitment of bond rate commitment, because in the bond rate commitment schedule of concessions of China said that it will not apply tariff on auto part, the product from Canada, US, and EU. But when China apply what we call financial charge, EU, Canada, and US accuse China of applying custom duty, because they believe that financial charge is also part of custom duty or tariff. That is why we got a case, and you will see whether the judge, the appellate body, or the appellate the panel judge will favor China's position or will favor EU, Canada, and US position. I'm gonna explain in the next point. Okay, but again, we have no definition. We have no any determinations of the definitions of custom duty under WTO law or other law. Normally, we base on precedent, or we base on jurisprudence, or we call case law, the decision by the judge in the previous case. Okay? So they use the decision by the judge in the previous case to interpret the definition of the word custom duty right here, right now. Okay, and again, custom duty versus tariff, are they the same? Anybody can guess based on my explanation so far? Are custom duty and tariff the same? Keyword here is custom and duty. Duty is equivalent to tax. Okay? And custom, I think you know quite well what does it mean by custom. So custom duty is the same as tariff or not? Anybody can make a guess? Okay.
I think no, sir.
Not the same?
Yes.
Why?
Custom duty, like the tax that they impose on the border, but tariff, I think, might include custom duty, and financial charge or quantity restriction.
Okay. Okay, quantitative restriction is not a form of tariff because quantitative restriction, for example, ban and quota is in the forms of non-tariff measure, right? It's in the form of non-tariff measure. But tariff, we talk about tariff, the money that we pay at the border. So custom duty and tariff, again, they are the same. Okay. Custom duty and tariff are the same. But custom duty, because tariff is the tax that we impose on goods at the border, especially when they are about to be imported into one country. For example, if Cambodia wishes to import a car from Japan, let's say that Toyota car from Japan, Cambodia will apply 20% or 200% of tariff. It means that Cambodia will apply 200% of custom duty, the duty that is applied at the border, because custom here is only working at the border. Okay? Custom means cối. Okay? Cối ធ្វើការនៅតាមព្រំដែនយកពន្ធនៅតាមព្រំដែនហើយទោះបីនៅកំពង់ផែក៏កំពង់ផែត្រូវបានគេចាត់ទុកថាព្រំដែនហើយពីព្រោះកំពង់ផែស្ងួតនៅតាមពេញហ្នឹងគឺជាព្រំដែនហើយគ្រាន់តែថាគេលើកពីព្រំដែនយកម្នាក់នោះនេះយើងបងពុនយើងបិទតែបិទអីទៅមាន stamp export import duty ទៅគឺវាដូចនៅតាមព្រំដែនអញ្ចឹងទៅតាមព្រំដែនគាត់ទៅ declare យើងថាយើងបានបងពុននៅ dry port គឺគេឲ្យយើងចេញមិនបាច់ចាំទៅបងពុននៅតាមព្រំដែនទេប៉ុន្តែ in nature the work of custom officer is to station at the border. Okay, so custom duty means the duty that is paid at the border. Okay, that is paid to the custom that generate the custom profit for the government. Okay, so custom duty and tariff are not different; they are the same. They are the same. But the question is that is custom duty equal to financial charge? Okay. But financial charge here is not something that is applied always at the border. It can be the charge that apply, for example, when you export into one country, that country, the government has the right to apply some financial charge, for example, administrative charge, paper charge, okay, testing charge, okay. So they are financial charge, okay. But are they equal to custom duty? Let's say that if the Cambodian government commit with a bound rate that it will impose 20% of tariff on iPhone from US. So if Cambodia import iPhone and then it apply 20% of tariff and then they pay. And then when the iPhone came into Cambodia, the government impose some of the measure in the forms of financial charge. Let's say that if you right now you already pay 20% of tariff on the iPhone before exported before I allow you to import into my country. But when you come to the border, when you cross the border, you will need to do some testing or qualification of the iPhone, and then I will charge 1% okay, of the overall price of the iPhone. So is the financial charge here okay, amounting to the custom duty that Cambodia has imposed 20%? Because financial charge might not be imposed at the border, it might be imposed somewhere else in the country internally. Again, we have no definition of custom duty. We have no definition of financial charge, but based on practice, financial charge happen internally, but custom duty only happen at the border before the good can be imported into one country that apply custom duty. So my question is custom duty here equal to financial charge? Or they are different? Okay, are they different or are they the same? Check keyword carefully. The word custom duty that is applied by custom officer at the border. But financial charge can be by the VAT, special tax, okay, sensitive tax, okay. They are all in the forms of financial charge. Okay? So are custom duty equal to financial charge?
No.
No,
Yeah.
teacher.
No. So do we have any definition to defend our position or our answer of saying no? We have no any law to say that custom duty are equal to financial charge or are different from financial charge. So we base on what we call case law. And the case law that the judge already referred to, the scholar already refers to, the appellate body judge already refers to for the definitions of the custom duty and financial charge. They refers to the case China Auto Part 2009. Okay, so I'm gonna explain with reference to the file of the China Auto Part 2009 for you right now, and then I want you to see how the charge interpret the word financial charge and custom duty. Let me tell you the background. China has committed in its bond rate, in its schedule of concession submitted to the WTO. It said that it will not impose tariff on auto part exported or imported from any parts of the world. Okay, but then when the US, Canada, and EU exported the auto part into China market, China did not impose the tariff custom duty. But when the auto part good from the US, Canada, and EU come into the territory of China, China require the importer to pay some financial charge in the lands of China. Those charges are called administrative procedure charge. Okay, for example, if you want to, right now you do not need to pay tariff at the border or custom duty at the border, but when you come into my land, I have the right to require you to pay some other charge. Okay, that is not custom duty. And then EU, Canada, and US said that financial charge is also called custom duty because it imposed the barrier for the export by this country. So they accused China, of violating its commitment that it did not impose any tariff on the auto part. But right now it imposed financial charge, and then financial charge has been viewed by US, Canada, and Japan and EU as the custom duty because it also caused the barrier for export from Canada, for export by Canada, US, and EU into China. Okay, and then you know what the judge explained? Okay, the summary of the case. Okay, look at the summary of the case. Okay, so here I got the case from the WTO website. If you want to go to see the case, you can go to the WTO website and then go to dispute settlement body (DSB) and then click on the search on the keyword China / hyphens auto part, or you can put the code DS means dispute settlement 339, 340, or 342. Okay, you will see the case right here. And we got a party. This is what we call one-page summary of the case. Okay, we got a party. The complainant are the US, European Union, or European Community, and Union are the same, and Canada. Okay, and the agreement that they found China violating the GET article, for example, Article 2, Article 3, Article 3. Para 4. Yes, hello.
Are you sharing screen? We don't see anything.
Okay, wait. Oh, okay, wait. I forgot to share screen. Okay, interrupt me. So let me share I want you to see the real picture of the case summary, okay, by the appellate body. Okay, you got right now? Can you
Yes.
see? Okay,
Yes.
very good. Okay, so it's very important for you to know how to read the case summary. You cannot spend more than 3 days or 4 days to read 3,000 pages of the case for one case. Okay, so here's the brief summary that you can find on the WTO website. Okay, I also got a book that has all the case from 1995 to 2017 at my home. If you want to get one, you can have a copy of it. So you don't need to read all the detail, but you will read the key summary by the appellate body, by the DSB. I mean, okay. Here is the complainant, US, EU, and Canada, and respondent is China. Okay. Again, under WTO law, the word EC or European Community here refer to European Union. Okay. Keep in mind, EC means EU. Okay. And the agreement that US, European Union, or Canada found China violating are GET Article 2, GET Article 3, Para 2, GET Article 3, Para 4, GET Article 20, Para B, and also China Accession Public Party Report in 2001. Okay. And the timeline of the dispute, the first one is the establishment of the panel. They did not record the consultation because consultation is made for the bilateral negotiation between China and the three parties. But they start the record for the timeline of the dispute from that of the establishment of the panel. Okay, as I said, we got the consultation and then panel and then appellate body and then arbitration, the last one. Okay, so the panel that was established for the case was yes.
Sure, I don't see the screen, sure.
And what about the rest? Can you see the screen?
I can see it.
Yes.
Oh, oh, oh. Maybe my sorry, sir.
Yeah, check once again, right? So the panel for the case was established in 2006, and then in 2008, 2 years, the panel report circulated the report. I mean, the panel judge circulated the report to the party and also to the member of DSB in 2008, and then in 2008 again, in December, the case was referred to the case was referred to the appellate body. Then appellate body created the report, produced the report, and then circulated to the party. Then 1 year later, in not 1 year, but just like a month later, in January 2009, the dispute settlement body adopted the report. So the final report for the case here was adopted in January on 12 January 2009. Okay, so let's see the key interpretations by the appellate body judge. Okay, so the keyword is ordinary custom duty and internal charges. Okay, again, Canada, EU, and US accuse China of imposing custom duty, but in fact, China did not impose custom duty. China only imposed financial charge or internal charge. Okay, but EU, Canada, and US identify or consider internal charge imposed by China as a part of custom duty, because internal charge or financial charge imposed by China to the auto part from EU, US, and Canada caused the barrier for export by the three countries into China. So they interpreted internal charge by China as the custom duty, and then China defended, no, we did not apply custom duty on your product right away, but we only apply internal charge or financial charge because that is the freedom by the government that is allowed by the WTO law. You have the right to impose something internally, okay, your own sovereignty, okay, as long as you did not commit into the WTO commitment schedule of concession, okay. And if you look at the interpretation by the judge right here, as a preliminary threshold issue, the appellate body upheld, okay, the panel characterizations of the charge as an internal charge. Article 3.2 or para 2 the duty, okay? Because after considering the characteristic of the measure, the panel had properly ascribed legal significance to entirely in the fact that the obligation to pay the charge accrue internally after auto part enter China. It means that the financial charge imposed by China on auto part from Canada, from EU, from US are not happen at the border, but they are imposed internally. They put italic version of the word internally here because they want to stress that financial charge, internal charge by China here is done internally under the freedom of China. China did not apply this in the way of custom duty at the border because it already enter into China territory. That is the freedom of China. Okay? The freedom of China. Okay? So finally, the appellate body and the panel have the same interpretation that custom duty is not the same as internal or financial charge, because internal financial charge is the charge that happen after the product or the country that apply financial charge. Okay? So they apply financial charge internally, okay? Internally after the good or the interior territory. It is not called custom duty. So that is the clear interpretations for the differences between custom duty and the word internal charge. So no needs to have confusion anymore because right now we got the clear case from the US, US, Canada, EU, and China, and China 2009. So from this case law, we have the clear picture of what does it mean by the word internal charge and what does it mean by the word custom duty. To make it short, custom duty is only applied at the border by the custom officer, while internal charge might be applied by the custom, by the tax authority, by the administrative body or authority of China that fall under the ambit or fall under the sovereignty of China. Okay, the freedom of China that is permissible, that is allowed by WTO law, especially again 1947. Okay, again, to make it clear from the case law right here, 2009, financial charge and custom duty are not the same because the location of impositions of the two here are not happen at the same place. First one, custom duty is at the border, and second one, internal charge is happen internally, is imposed internally. So it is not considered as custom duty. Are you with me right now, guys? Clear from the case law? Okay.
Sure.
Yes, come on.
So what if the good that transport through airplane to the airport, but inside the country already? So the custom duty and financial charge can be imposed.
As I told you, even not at the airport, even not at the border, but even if at the dry port in Phnom Penh, it is also considered as the custom checkpoint, because sometimes you are not required to always pay the tax at the border, because the border might not be able to station some customer officer. That is why they decided to deploy the custom officer into the dry port to put the stamp on the good that pay the tax, that pay the import, that pay the import tariff. Okay, and for the case of airplane shipment of the good, you need to pay at the custom officer station at the airport. Have you ever been asked by the custom officer at the airport to declare your good, whether the good are travel good or the good are for commercial good? If the good are commercial good, you need to pay the import tariff at the at the international airport. Especially if you go to the international airport of Phnom Penh, you will see the custom officer standing there to check your good. Okay, if your good are declared commercial good, the good that you import in order to sell for commercial benefit in Cambodia, you will need to pay tariff. But if it is only the good for example, you went to Korea and then you buy as the souvenir for your family member, you are not required to declare it as commercial good. Just declare it as the personal good that you buy for souvenir, because it is exempted not to pay the tariff, import tariff. Okay, so again, custom work is not always at the border, but it is also the dry port. It is also located or stationed at the international airport, as long as they are permissible by the regulation, by the law to apply right there. You cannot just okay, I'm right now taking my plan off from South Korea, and then I'm about to enter Cambodia territory, so I need to ask my airplane to touch down in at the border of Phnom Penh of Cambodia and Thailand as the gateway into Cambodia first, and then I pay the tax for no. You need to declare the good on the plan, and then when the good when the plane touches down in international airport of Phnom Penh, you will need to clear the good as commercial good and then pay the tax at the custom officer with the custom officer stationed at the international airport there. Are you clear with that right now? Even though it is right now paid internally, but it is still considered as custom duty, because it is just like paid at the border, but we have no custom officer working for the airplane at the border. They are stationed. They are located at the international airport in town internally here. But it is not called internal financial charge. It is called custom duty, because they are performed in a way of custom duty by the custom officer. Are you clear right now? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good. Okay.
Like,
Yes. Come on.
I just want to about the internal financial charge. It can be applied as tax and VAT, right?
Yeah, VAT, special tax.
Yes.
If you go to see the the Ministry of Commerce announcement of the price of fuel that has been published all the way on the weekly basis every week, you will see that there are three levels of tax that are imposed on the fuel or gasoline into Cambodia. You will see the calculation of the price of the gasoline, the monitoring of the price every week, and then you will see there are three types of tax that are imposed on the gasoline into Cambodia. First one is what we call import tax, and then second one is what we call special tax, because the gasoline is the sensitive good, the very compulsory good that we need a special tax, and the last one is VAT. That is why the price of gasoline is expensive, because we face triple tax at the same time for 1 liter of gasoline. Okay, that is why, not like a mango, not like iPhone, that they are not sensitive good. So we do not impose very high level of tariff. We impose only VAT and import tax. But for the gasoline, very compulsory good or very sensitive good, we need to impose 3 level of tax: import tax, VAT, and the last one is the what we call a special tax. Okay, so to make it clear, it depends on the good. Okay, it depends on the good. Okay, And financial charge can also be posed in the way of administrative procedure charge. For example, if you want to undergo screening or testing of your product in Cambodia, you need to pay $20 per kilogram of gold, for example. So it depends on the requirement by the law, requirement by the government, or the procedure, the administrative procedure, statistical procedure. For example, if you want to get some documentation paper from the custom officer, you don't need to pay the tariff, but you need to pay the documentation charge, okay, that the custom officer have the right to impose on that. But it is not considered as the custom duty because it is called administrative charge or financial charge that goes beyond custom duty. All right, are you clear right now? So there are many forms of financial charge that we cannot identify right here because it depends on the government regulation, because it's the freedom of the government allowed by the WTO law to apply right away, not considered as export or import duty, custom duty. All right, can I move on?
Yes, like.
Okay, very good. So let me reset the screen of our slide. Okay, guy, do not feel I mean, you can interrupt me anytime in case that you want to ask a question, or in case that you do not see the slide. Just say, teacher, can you share the slide with me? Don't just listen and then let me go alone. Okay. Okay. So right now you got the definition of the word custom duty and financial charge. They are not the same, as explained in the appellate body report in the China Auto Part case 2009 against EU, Canada, and the US. And there are two types of custom duty or tariff. First one is bound tariff. As I said, I'm going to explain in the next slide. And second one is applied tariff. And there are two forms of custom duty and tariff. First one is ad valorem or AV. For example, the iPhone imported into Cambodia will be facing 2% AV tariff, meaning that we have 2% of the tariff compared with the price of the good. Okay, I'm going to explain it in the next slide, okay, regarding the word AV and non-ad valorem right here and AV right here. Okay, so let's go with me right now without further ado. Okay, here is the definitions of the word bound tariff and applied tariff. Okay, so the bound tariff refers to the tariff specified by the WTO member in the schedule of concession. Okay, schedule of concession is the paper of the member after they finish their negotiation with the WTO member, and then they will commit themselves to apply the maximum level of tariff on certain good. Okay, so the maximum level of tariff on certain good, product by product, will be listed in the schedule of concession submitted to the WTO as their commitment. Okay. Then they can apply to imported product as part of their WTO obligation. Okay, so again, bound tariff rate refer to the tariff rate that are the maximum level, okay, that is willing to be paid, or that is willing to impose by the member who committed under their schedule of concession. Okay, and applied tariff rate. Okay, applied tariff rate is the applicable or what we call real or actual rate that we apply. So what is the difference between bound tariff rate? Again, bound tariff rate is the rate that is considered as the selling rate, the bound rate, the highest, the maximum rate. But when you apply right away, okay, for example, in your schedule of concession, you apply 20% of tariff rate as the bound rate for one good. But when you apply in reality, in actuality, the applied tariff rate can be less than 20%, 15%, or it can be only 10%, depending on your willingness. But that is your freedom. Okay, from 0% to 20% is your freedom, because the bound rate is already 20%. Okay, so you have the freedom whether you want to apply 1%, 2%, 5%, 10%, or whatsoever level, as long as they are not exceeding 20% that you committed in your bound rate. Okay, so applied rate is the rate that you apply in reality, while the bound rate is your maximum commitment, the maximum rate that you commit. Okay, I'm going to explain in the next slide, okay, to make you feel a little clearer, okay, with the definition right here. Okay, you can go to see the case of Japan. It is the schedule of concession of Japan that it has submitted to the WTO in 2018. Guy, can you see the animal product in line number 1? Can you see right now? Japan bound and tariff and applied tariff, yeah, right under the WTO. Go to the product group and then line number 1. Okay, and in the column number 2, we have AVG. AVG means average rate. Okay, so the final bound duty of Japan. Okay, the final bound duty of Japan for the animal good. How much is the average bound duty of Japan for animal product? Anybody can give the answer to me right now based on the diagram right here. How much?
25.7.
Yeah, 25.7% for the as the average final bound rate on animal product imposed by Japan. But what about the applied duty and the average applied duty that Japan imposed on animal product? How much in reality? That is applied in reality. How much? In column number 3, how much? The answer is right on the screen. Okay, just say, just see, and then you can give the right answer. What is the applied UT, the average applied UT of Japan on animal product? The bound UT 25.7. What about the average AMAP and applied UT? How much?
15.5.
15.5. So is the applied UT higher or lower than the final bound UT?
It's lower.
Lower, okay. But what do you mean by AMAP? It means that Japan apply 15%, 15.5% to all the members of the WTO, okay? As I said, when you apply a certain level of duty on a certain good, you must apply to all the good from all the members. You have to apply the same level of tariff on the same good from all the members, okay? So it doesn't mean that you apply right there for only a certain member of the WTO. No, you have to apply to all members as long as it is on the same good. I explained to you already in the previous session regarding the word AMAPAN right here. So again, you can see here the bound duty, the average bound duty by Japan that was finalized in its schedule of concession submitted to the WTO for the animal product is 25.7%. But when it applied in reality, in actuality, it applied only 15.5% as the applied duty. So can Japan apply 16 or 17% for animal product to all members if it want to?
Yes, yes.
All member, yes, sir.
Yeah, of course. So again, the final bound duty of Japan is 25.7. But when Japan apply, in reality, it apply only 15.5%. But Japan also has the freedom to apply 16, 17, 18, 19, 21 to 25.7%. But can Japan apply 26%, let's say?
No, sir.
No, because it is exceeding the final bound duty that Japan has already committed on its animal product in WTO. Are you fine right now? Clear? So the final apply duty must be lower than the final bound duty because the final bound duty is the maximum duty that you are willing to apply. So below that is the freedom for the government to apply. It can be lower, it can be 1%, 2%, 5%, 20%, as long as not exceeding 25% is committed under the bound duty, bound rate average for the animal product. Are you clear right now? Okay, fine.
Yes, lecturer.
Understand? Okay. But go to product number 2, dairy product, line number 2. Is it the same trend, the same tendency as line number 1? Any difference? Anybody can guess? Can see right here? Spot the difference?
The average applied duty is actually higher than the average final bound duties.
Exactly. So you might question, is it true, teacher, that you explained that the applied duty must be lower than the final bound duty because final bound duty is the maximum level of duty, and then right now you can see the case of Japan dairy product here, the dairy product here, the applied duty is higher than the final bound duty. So what does it make sense for your explanation a moment ago? My answer is that the final bound duty, average final bound duty of Japan for the dairy product of 176.1% here has already submitted to the WTO. Bound, okay, bound duty. But is it applicable right now? Dairy product is always sensitive good, okay, guys. dairy product is always sensitive good for all countries, especially developing countries. We always consider dairy product as the sensitive good. So when a sensitive good is applied with the tariff will take place. Okay? I mean, the tariff liberalization will need time to be applied. For example, let's say the dairy product Japan submitted to the WTO in 2018, but this level of tariff, final bound tariff by 176.1% here, cannot be applied right now, cannot be applied right after it has submitted, cannot be applied, cannot be enforced right now. It needs 5 to 10 years. It needs 5 to 10 years to be enforced. Because why? Because it is sensitive good that the government need to impose higher level of tariff in order to protect their own infant industry, in order to protect the local user of dairy product. Okay, because dairy product is sensitive good, the good that feed a number of farmer, a number of local farmers. So if you liberalize, if you remove the tariff right away, right now, you will cause the loss to your farmer because they will need to compete with the foreign good. That is why even though Japan has already submitted its final bound duty commitment by 176.1% for the dairy product, it is not enforced right now. So Japan has the freedom from now to the next 5 years to apply the applied duty higher than or lower than the final bound duty. It's the freedom of Japan within 5 years. So when 5 years is left, when 5 years is over, Japan needs to be abided by the final bound rate that it committed, like 176%. So the Japan applied duty will be lower than 176% after the next 5 years. Because the next 5 years, the first day after the next 5 years will be the year that the 176.1 apply bound duty here in force. Okay, in force. You got a point? All right.
Yes, lecturer. I have a question. So how
Come
can
on.
we identify which are the sensitive goods?
Sensitive good. Okay, very good. Okay. Under ASEAN framework, we have what we call, CEPT. Yes, CE common effective preferential treatment. Okay, it is under the AII ASEAN integration framework in 1997, and under the CEPT here, we got many level of tariff, but I remember two important level of tariff or two important category of good. The first one is the sensitive good, and second one is highly sensitive good. Sensitive good can be fish, okay, can be crops, can be fruit, okay, can be other agricultural yield. Highly sensitive good can be, for Indonesia, it would be palm oil. For Malaysia, it would be palm oil. But for Cambodia, it would be right. It would be right. So it depends on the government notification to the other member to be informed that right now the Cambodian government decided to include right into sensitive good, highly sensitive good, and then the other member have no right to resist. They have to respect the Cambodian government decision because it is the good that are sensitive to Cambodian farmer. Okay, so you know that more than 75% of Cambodian people are farmer. So if we do not put right into sensitive good or highly sensitive good, and then we allow the imports of rice for duty-free, quota-free into Cambodia from the foreign country, let's say from Thailand, from China, from Vietnam into Cambodia. So the good will compete with the Cambodian farmer. And then our Cambodian farmer have no market access because right now they are being competed, they are being challenged by the imports of rice from the other country, while we are the agricultural country whose population around 70% are farmer. Okay, so we include sensitive good or highly sensitive good into the category depending on the real situations of the population of the workforce. If the rice is the integral product of Cambodian government, Cambodian economy, it will be falling into the highly sensitive category, highly sensitive good category. Okay, but if the good is not really sensitive to Cambodia, for example, we have no user of this kind of good, we will put it into normal good, and then we will liberalize the tariff for that good because we want more good to be supplied by the foreign country because we are not the user of that kind of good. Let's say that car, let's say that the water, mineral water, or beverage key, or some beer that are not used by our Cambodian company, Cambodian user. We will put it as normal good, put them as normal good, and then liberalize tariff, allow them to be imported by the foreign country to Cambodia, because we want to enlarge the choice of consumption of a local user, local consumer, not user, local consumer. Okay, and we have no user of the kind of good. Okay, but for rice, we need to put it into highly sensitive good because we need to protect our infant industry or our farmer who are cultivating rice every year for exporting to a foreign country. Okay, so we again identify good into highly sensitive list or sensitive list depending on the real situation of that country, whether they want to protect certain companies, certain farmer or not. Okay, and the government of the foreign country cannot resist the decisions of Cambodia. Okay, and again, I want to tell you one thing that in 2017, the government of Cambodia just created a new regulation, what we call sub-decree, to include some certain fish as sensitive good or restricted good, meaning that we will not allow the import of this kind of good into Cambodia because they are being used by our local Cambodian farmer. We want to protect their production capacity. When we want to protect their interests, if we allow the foreign fish to be imported into Cambodia, how can we promote the livelihood of our local farmer who are right now feeding or growing or raising fish? Okay, so here is the issue that we need to take into account before we include any good into highly sensitive good or sensitive good. Are you clear? Mike?
Yeah, I have
For
one.
sure, yes.
Okay, come on.
For the schedule of concession, one we submitted to WTO, is it permanent or is it allowed to revise for every X year?
We have to revise, but before you can revise, you need to what we call INP or INR, initial negotiating right. It means that it will be permanent if you do not invoke, but if you invoke, you submit a proposal of INR to. I think it will be explained in the next section. It's very complicated procedure, but it's very important to learn. But I just want to tell you that we have the right to amend, we have the right to adjust, depending on our economic situation right now. If some goods are right now in critical need to be supplied by the foreign country, we will adjust our schedule of concession, submitting our proposal to the WTO. They will allow us to adjust and then put the new allowable of tariff for that good. Okay, it can be higher or lower depending on our economic situation, and then inform the other member. But before we adjust, negotiate with them. We cannot just right now I want to impose higher tariff on certain good. For example, I want to impose higher tariff on swine, on grape. Let's say that, and then I applied right away. No, I cannot do so. I need to talk with the other member because they are the one that will face the tariff that we will apply after our amendment, after our adjustment. Okay, so again, first with the other member of the WTO, all right? And the other member of the WTO can talk with us only if they have INR, initial negotiation right, okay? I think you cannot understand right now, but just know that we can amend, we can adjust, but we need consent, we need negotiation, we need talk, we need discussion with our trade partner first, because they are the one that will be facing the tariff that has been amended or adjusted by us, okay? So it is not static, it is not permanent, it is change. Okay? It is amendable. Okay? Clear? Can I move on?
One more, schedule concession
Come
when
on.
we submit to WTO, is it
Yeah,
need
come on.
to be reviewed and vote on the schedule?
Oh, no. Because before we submit, we already talked with all the members, we got the green light already, and then we submit right away and become enforced right away after the receipt by the WTO secretary. Okay. So don't need to act for any vote, don't need to act for any election by the judge or by the DSB or by the member of General Council. Just submit right away when they acknowledge our notification, our submission. It will be enforced within the period that we identify in our schedule of concession. Okay, clear?
Yeah, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Okay. Very good question anyway. I'm very grateful that you guys are very optimistic and then very integrative with me by sharing your idea and also some question imposed on me. Okay, continue to the next slide. Okay, again, can applied tariff be higher than a bond rate only if the bond rate is not yet enforced. Okay? If the bond rate that you have submitted to the WTO is not yet enforced, you have the right, you have the freedom to apply the tariff rate higher than the bond rate. But if the bond rate is already submitted and then enforced right away, the consequent applied tariff rate must be lower or equal the bound tariff rate. Okay, so you can see the diagram right here. Look at the scenario of many countries. For example, Australia, the bound rate of Australia is 10% for the average bound rate for all goods from into Australia are 10%, while the applied rate that it apply on the MFN basis to all the other members of the WTO is only around 3 to 4%. Canada, the bound rate is 5%, while the applied rate is 4%. And Chile, the bound rate is 25%, while the applied rate, the actual rate that it applied right away, is only 6%. I can say that Australia or Chile is very generous because it bound rate is very high, but I think we have the very tariff space between the bound rate and tariff rate of Chile right here. And China, not generous, okay, because the bound rate of China in average is 10%, while the applied rate is 10% as well. And Costa Rica, the final bound rate is more than 43%, while the applied rate is only 5%. Okay, very generous because the type overhang between the bound rate and applied rate of Costa Rica is very large. Okay, so Costa Rica has very huge freedom to apply the applied tariff higher than its current level of 6%. Okay, Morocco, the applied tariff is lower than the bound tariff because the bound tariff is more than 41%, while the applied tariff is only 30%. So Morocco have more than 11% of freedom to apply to the level of bound tariff rate. Okay, so you can see the diagram right here. No applied tariff has been higher than the bound tariff committed by the member right here. Canada, Australia, Chile, China, Costa Rica, and Morocco. Okay, and again, applied rate must be on the MFN basis because it is applicable. It is applied to all the member of the WTO simultaneously at the same time. Okay. You cannot say, okay, I want to apply MFN basis 2% to all the country for the same good, but I want to apply 2% from on Thailand today and 2% on Japan next 2 years. You cannot do so. It must be accorded the same treatment immediately. You go back to Article 1, okay, of GATT. I said already it must be accorded the same treatment immediately and unconditionally to all members. Okay, let us move on to the next slide. You are fine. Okay, tariff overhang. This one is very important keyword. I think it's very likely to appear in our quiz that will be taking place next week or in our exam. Okay, bound tariff, applied tariff, and you might question what is the name, okay, of the space between bound tariff and applied tariff. So the official name, okay, that has been used by the WTO member is called tariff overhang. Okay, so tariff overhang is the space between the bound rate and applied rate. Okay, okay. And many applied tariff rate are always absent bound rate. It means that they are always equal to the bound rate because states are not very concessional enough. I mean, when they apply the bound rate at the same level, they will apply the applied rate to the very similar level. They have limited freedom, but they want to generate more income, more revenue. But some government like Chile, as I said a moment ago, the bound rate is so high, but Chile does not want to apply the applied tariff rate to the level equal to the bound rate right now. But it might apply in the future, but not now. So it's very generous for now. Okay. Okay. Guys, this is a very important table that I extracted from the WTO website. You can see the bound and applied rate, tariff rate among regions in the world. And for example, in industrial economy like OECD, Organizations of Economic Country Development, especially in Europe, the applied tariff rate is 4%, while the bound tariff rate is higher than the applied tariff rate by 0.7%. I mean 4.7%. Developing economy, the applied rate is 13.1%, while the bound tariff rate is 20.8%. So the free developing countries is around 7%. Latin America and the Caribbean community, the bond rate is more than 18%, while the actual rate is only 10%. So the freedom of the tariff overhang is around more than 8%. East Asia and the Pacific, the bond rate is more than 16%, while the actual applied rate is only 9.8%. So it means that the tariff overhangs right here is around 7%. South Asia, the bond tariff rate is more than 56%, while the applied tariff rate is only 27%. You can imagine right now how much percentage of the tariff overhang for the South Asia. And South Asia is the region that is dominated by India. Okay, I think if you studied international relations well, especially the geopolitics of South Asia, Second World, you will hear the word ISAARC, or we call it SAARC, ISAARC. South Asia Association for Regional Cooperation that was established in 1985, proposed by India. And India always wished to be the dominant player in the SAARC, but unfortunately there is no regional integration by the SAARC members so far, because India and Pakistan are still having the conflict over Kashmir, remained by the UK in 1949, while India is also having some border conflict with Sri Lanka, okay, with Bangladesh as well. Okay, so that is why we always hear the word, some statements saying that ASEAN and EU are the most successful region in terms of integration, because some of the parts of the world, for example, South Asia, we got SAARC right here, is always very fragmented by the member, because India and Pakistan are always fighting. I remember last 2 years, there are skirmishes, there are conflict, there are some fire between India and Pakistan over the Kashmir, and China intervened. Okay, and Pakistan is right now creating what we call Pakistan-China Economic Corridor as the economic platform that allow China to insert influence in the Indian Ocean next to India. Okay, so right now India is very much antagonizing again Pakistan, because India found that Pakistan is right now using China influence to increase its weight, increase its power against the dominance of India in the South Asia region right here. Okay, so it's very driven by the geopolitical change, okay, in the region. Okay, and South Asia, the tariff is always high because the member of South Asia are always very trade restrictive. For example, India, you know quite well, RCEP originally was composed of 16 members, ASEAN 10 plus Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, China, and India. But unfortunately, in November 2019, India decided to unilaterally leave RCEP. So right now we got only 15 member for RCEP that was signed on 15 November 2020. Okay, so India leave the RCEP because India did not want to provide trade concession or trade liberalization in the RCEP agreement. India want to remain protective for a trade regime. Okay. And at the Europe and Central Asia, the bond tariff rate is more than 14% or around 15%, while the applied tariff rate is only around 9 or 10%. So Europe and Central Asia have around 4% of the tariff overhang. The freedom between the different, or the space between tariff, bond tariff and applied tariff. Middle East, that consists of the country that are Islamic. The bond tariff rate is 26.8%, while the applied tariff rate is lower at 14.4%, around 12. No, not 12. Yes, around that level of tariff overhang. And sub-Saharan Africa, the bond tariff rate is not that high, only around 20%, while the applied tariff rate is only 16.5%. So you can see from the table right here, in all the region across the world, bond tariff duty is always higher than the applied tariff rate. The level of difference between bond tariff rate differ from one region to another depending on their level of concession, their level of commitment that they are willing to provide. Okay? So this is a very important table for you guys as the reference in your future study, future research. Okay? We'll try to find updated information for you guys. Okay. So we got two forms of tariff. First one is bond tariff, applied tariff. Bond tariff is the maximum level that we committed, and bond tariff is the applied tariff is the tariff that we apply in reality. It must be lower or equal to the bound tariff. So second part is about the form of tariff ad valorem and non-ad valorem, AV and NAV. So we will be coming back at 7:30 to resume our lecture on the form of tariff AV and NAV right here. We got so many things to talk in this important forms of tariff because we have mixed tariff. You will see, okay, and you will also realize that the specifications of ingredient that are put that are label on the cans of juice, on the cans of beer, are not only for you to match the ingredient of beer with your health, but also for the tariff purposes. Okay, it is applied in the what we call technical tariff as an AV. I'm gonna explain in the next slide. Okay, after we come back from our break. Okay, so let's enjoy the break for 15 minutes and then 30 minutes and then come back at 7:30. All right. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, come on.
Before we go, next week we have class, right? Because it's holiday.
I know it's holiday, but we have class. Okay,
So make up.
online. Yeah. Because your class always fall on holiday. I don't know why since June up until now it always have the holiday falling on Friday. So I have no choice. Okay? I think you understand my case. I don't want to make it so slow right now. I'm happy that I can make it in a detailed fashion for you, even though my system is slow. But I cannot make it this slow. Okay? But we cannot just skip because of holiday. I need to have some makeup class for you. Not want to pressure you, but that is my role. That is my responsibility to ensure that we will be able to complete all the important module, important chapter before we graduate from G4 right here, because that is the last chance for you guys to study international economic law. Okay? Thank you so much, guys. See you in the next 30 minutes. Bye. Hello guys, welcome back to our session right now. So are you here right now? Can we start right now? Hello, can we start?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So can you see the slide right now? I'm sharing on screen.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So again, we just finished our part on the types of tariff that include both on tariff and tariff applied tariff, okay, that are having the tariff overhang as the interval between them. Okay. So right now, let us move on the form of tariff that are divided into two. First one is the ad valorem, and second one is non-ad valorem, NAV versus AV. Okay. So let's go with me right away. Ad valorem is the most applicable tariff form that has been applied by the member of the WTO so far since its founding, its inception in 1947 of GATT. And ad valorem tariff, or AV tariff here, is considered as the tariff that is imposed on the good in the percentage term over the value of that good. Okay, over the value of that good. For example, if 5% tariff, it means that we impose import tariff of 5% of the appraised value of the good in question. Okay, it means that if the price of the good is, for example, 100 US dollar, and then we apply 5% of tariff, it meant that the value of the tariff is 5 US dollar, because the value of the tariff is calculated compared to the overall value of the good. Okay, so again, the special takeaway from the ad valorem definition right here is the comparisons of the tariff with the value of the good. Okay? In fact, we should call it price, okay, over the price of the good, okay? Because value and price are not the same. Okay? I want to tell you, in economic term, price refer to something that we pay for the good, while value refer to something that the good can pay for us, can give back to us. Okay? For example, let me show you one example. I want to show it. Okay. 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 So right now I decided to change from value to price. Okay, because here the ad valorem tariff is the percentage over the price of the good. Okay, the price of the good. Okay, the evaluated price of the good. And why don't I put value? Because in economic term, the both price and value are not the same. The price refers to the amounts or the sums of money that we pay for the good and service that we consume. For example, one iPhone, we pay 1,000 US dollar for iPhone 11, let's say that. So the price of iPhone is 1,000 US dollar. But the value of the iPhone is the thing that iPhone can give back to us. Let's say that even though the price of iPhone is 1,000 US dollar, but the value of iPhone include, for example, it can provide us the platform to do social networking activity, for example, Facebooking, Twitter, and so on. And also we have the very high resolution camera that we can take photo or snap the photo in a very high quality. We can call very quickly. We can, have a very multifunctional display on the screen. So these are the value that iPhone can give back to us. Price is the actual sums of money that we pay in order to buy that phone, and the value is what the phone can give back to us. In Khmer, price mean play, okay? And value mean apply. Okay, so the price of good, the value of good are not the same thing. The price of good mean the price tag of the good that we are willing to pay for that good to consume, but the value of the good refer to what that good can get back, can give back to us. Okay, it refers to the benefits or the profits or the advantages that that good can give back to the to the consumer that good. Okay, so again, price and value are not the same. So ad valorem here is the percentage term over the price of the good. So you can go to see the very realistic example here of the Cambodia tariff schedule under the WTO as of 7 June 2018. Go to the subheading 8S code, harmonized system 8S code. Go to line number 2, 010129, and then go to the average of AVUT, ad valorem UT here. the average ad valorem duty is 15%, and the minimum average duty is 15%, and the maximum is 15% as well. So the average of AV duty on the live horse, including fuel bred for breeding, is 15%. So if the horse is sold at $1,000, what is the AV duty of that horse? What is the amount of AV duty of that horse based on the number right here? Anybody can give me the answer? What is the actual amounts of the tariff of 15% for the horse that is cost at $1,000 per horse? How much? Hello, guys.
$150. Okay.
Exactly. Yes. So $150 is the AV tariff, is the AV duty of the live horse, okay, of the live horse, okay. So again, AV duty is very simple. It is the sums of money that is calculated in percentage term compared with the, I mean not compare, but over the price of the good. Okay. So if the good is $1,000, the 15% AV tariff must be $150. So very easy. We only needs to compare. We only needs to calculate the percentage of the tariff with the price of the good. Okay. So the special notion of the AV is always take into account the price of the good. Okay. 15% is there, 20% is there. If the good $10,000, the 15%, the actual value of 15% will be higher as well. So it depending on the levels of the actual price of the good. Okay. So again, I want to make it clear and short. AVUT always take into account the price of good, not kilogram, not pair, not weight, okay, not meter square, okay, not number, not volumes. Okay. It is only taking into account the price of the good. Okay, that is called AV tariff. AV tariff. So that is the schedule of concession of Cambodia in June 2018 that Cambodia submitted to the WTO. Okay, and then the other member, when they want to import or when they want to export their good into Cambodia, they will go to check, okay, the Cambodia commitment, Cambodia schedule of concession under the WTO platform, and then they will see whether their good that they wish to export to Cambodia will face a certain level of tariff imposed by Cambodian government or not. Okay, if, for example, the list here so that for the mango to be imported from by Cambodia from South Korea is going to be facing 15%. South Korean exporter of a mango into Cambodia, we need to pay 15% of AV tariff duty of the mango, okay, exported into Cambodia or imported into Cambodia. Okay, so the schedule of concession is very important for the foreign country to check, to verify before they advise their business people, the trader, to export good into Cambodia. Okay, not only for Cambodia but for the rest of the world, they always have their respect to their difference, their own tariff schedule submitted to the WTO that everybody can get access to get information about the tariff regime, tariff schedule. Okay, so that is the case of Cambodia that I want to use for example for you to refer to. Okay, and non-ad valorem AV is quite simple because AV is based on the value, based on the price of the good. But non-ad valorem or an AV is something more complicated. Okay, because it is not about the number itself. It's not about the price. It's not about the price of the good. So the tariff will be changing higher, lower, depending on not the price, but on some other important component that we listed below. Okay, so non-ad valorem tariff can be called as ad valorem equivalent. Okay, they are not ad valorem, but they are ad valorem equivalent. They are equivalent to ad valorem, but not taking into account the price of the good. Again, so an AV is different from the AV in a way that an AV does not take into account the price of the good, but it takes into account other forms of the good. For example, pair, weight, kilogram, and so on. I'm going to explain in the next slide. However, ad valorem tariff, AV tariff that I explained in point number 1 is always more preferred, is always more popular than or to the non-ad valorem tariff for many reasons. First, ad valorem tariff is transparent because very simple. When you want to know the actual value of the tariff, actual price of the tariff, just check the percentage of the tariff and then look at the price of the good. Okay, if 5% of 100 US dollar good, the value of the 5% must be 5 US dollars. So the certainty that it is 5% mean 10 US dollar, 15 US dollar. No, it is not able to do so because the 15% or the 5% that is included, that is shown in the tariff schedule here, is corresponding to the actual price of the good. Okay, actual price of the good. Okay, if the good is higher than 100 US dollar, the 5% value will be higher. Still 5%, but higher in terms of the value of that 5%. Okay, so depending on the actual price of the good, so it's more transparent. The customer certainly have no any freedom, have no any manipulation. Okay, to impose the actual price of the 5%. Okay, on certain good in their own way, because here it is determined by the actual price of the good already, right? And ad valorem tariff is also index linked because again it depends on the price. It is based on the price of the good, so it's very number based, it's very index based, index linked, so it's very transparent, easy to calculate. And AV here also promote efficiency because when it provide very ease of calculation, very easy way of calculation, it promote exporter to be used more, the user to be used more, because we do not face any technical barrier, any technical calculation or custom valuation procedure very complicated in the non-ad valorem tariff. We will not face this kind. Okay, so we are very motivated, we are very encouraged, okay, to export more. Okay, so it promotes efficiency. Okay, it promotes efficiency of production in the country that export using or facing the AV tariff imposed by the other party. Okay, and because AV tariff, ad valorem tariff that based on the price, that is based on the price of the good, is very easy, is very transparent, is very index linked, and promote efficiency. That is why the member of the WTO, especially in document number 12 para 2 regarding tariff simplification, they require at least 90% of all bound tariff on agricultural product in a member schedule shall be expressed as simple ad valorem tariff. Okay? So they found that AV tariff is very simple, is very simplified, and is very transparent in index link. That is why they recommend all the members to express their tariff regime, their bound tariff in AV form. Okay? AV form. Again, it's very simple to calculate. Just calculate the percentage of the tariff with the actual price of the good. Okay, so you can find the actual value of the tariff of 5%, for example. And there are 4 main types of an AV. Okay? Again, AV only one type. That is AV ad valorem. Only calculate the percentage with the actual price. But based on wage, based on volumes, based on pair, based on kilogram, into 4 main types. Okay? 4 main types. First one is specific. Second one is mixed. Third one is compound. And the last one is others, or we call it technical. Okay? Very complicated. Go with me slowly, one by one, and then you will understand. And you will understand again why some product specification, ingredient specification on the cans of beverage, the cans of beer, the cans of orange juice are mentioned, are very important for not only to see whether the ingredient match with your health condition or not, but also very important for the custom valuation purpose. Okay? I'm going to explain to you. Okay? Yeah. The first form of an AV tariff, non-ad valorem tariff, is called specific tariff. Okay? Specific tariff, a form of an AV, is a tariff that is computed based on based on physical quantity, based on physical quantity of the good being imported. The physical quantity of the good can be in a way of weight, kilogram, length, meter, area, meter square, volume. It can be meter cube or liter, and also number. It can be piece, 1 pair, 2 dozen, 3 pair. Form of physical quantity that are used in order to calculate the non-ad valorem tariff as the specific tariff. Okay. For example, in Australia, in 2005, the Australian schedule of commitment of concession include a tariff of 1.22 US dollar per kilogram on types of cheese, and the United States charged 0.668 US dollar per live goat. Okay, so the Australia case. So which form of physical quantity that it imposed for the specific tariff of an AV here? Anybody can give me the answer?
Wait.
Yeah, wage. Okay, so we don't put percentage, but we put the actual price of the tariff, and then based on, I mean, per kilogram, per weight, per length, per area, per number, per pair. Okay, so no need to calculate the percentage of the tariff imposed with the actual price of the good like AV did. But here for specific tariff, a forms of non-ad valorem tariff, we need to just check the actual tariff price, the actual tariff level expressed in US dollar per kilogram, per physical quantity. Okay. So here you can see the tariff is here on the surface. Okay. 1 kilogram, we will charge you 122 US dollar. Okay. So we don't care the price of the gold. We don't care. We just care about, for example, if iPhone. Okay. Let's say iPhone. If we impose 20% of AV tariff on the iPhone that costs 1,000 US dollar, how much is the price of the tariff of 20%? How much? Okay, how much? If we impose 20% on the iPhone that costs 1,000 US dollar, so how much is the actual tariff price?
$200, $200.
Yeah, 200 US dollar. We only need to calculate the percentage, 20%. Means 20 multiply by or divide by 100, and then we multiply by 1,000 US dollar. So it will be equal 200 US dollar. Okay, 20% for the iPhone that costs 1,000 US dollar. But what if the iPhone is not using AV tariff? We don't use the price of iPhone to calculate for the tariff, but we use the kilogram. Okay, let's say the kilogram. 1 kilogram of iPhone is 12 US dollar. So the price of the iPhone is 12 US dollar. So if the iPhone weighs 2 kilogram, how much US dollar that iPhone will cost? One iPhone will cost?
24.
1 kilogram of iPhone is 12 US dollar. So what if one iPhone weighs 2 kilogram? How much tariff that we need to face, that iPhone will face, one iPhone? How much?
24.
Yeah, 24 US dollars. So very easy. Okay, just see the actual price right here and then calculate based on kilogram, based on physical quantity, not only kilogram, but there are many forms of physical quantity. Okay. And what about the United States? What is the specific tariff made in the form of?
Pound.
Huh? Go to see the physical quantity and then that the US use on live goat. Number, okay, one live goat. One live goat, so it means number one. Okay, so we don't care about the price of live goat. We don't care, but we only impose 0.68 per live goat. So if you import 3 live goat, how much? How much that you need to pay? So per live goat, 1 live goat you need to pay 0.68. So what about 3 live goat? How much that you need to pay in overall?
Around 2.5 cents to $5 cents.
Yes, around, because we multiply 0.68 by 3, right? Because 3 like God, right?
Yes, sir. 3 lakh gold, sir.
Take 0.68 multiply by 3, because 3 like God. So you will see the answer of the actual tariff and NAV specific tariff for like God of 3 like God here. Okay. So here very easy. Okay. The price of the tariff is there, not in percentage term, and it is in the US dollar term, the price term, but per physical quantity. And we don't care about the price of the cheese, but we care about the kilogram. We don't care about the price of live gold. It can be expensive or more than that, but we care about the 1 live gold, 2 live gold, the number of the live gold. You got a point? So that is called specific tariff. That is not based on the price, but based on physical quantity of the gold. Got a point? All right?
Right,
Just
sir.
là
Right, sir.
AV ហ្នឹងគឺយកភាគរយដែលគេដាក់ដែលគេកំណត់ហ្នឹងដែលគេបានចរចាកំណត់ថាយកបានភាគរយហ្នឹងយកភាគរយហ្នឹងគុណឲ្យតម្លៃនៃនេះនឹងទៅឲ្យគេអត់ខ្វល់ចំនួនប៉ុន្មានគេដឹងថាតម្លៃនៃនាំចូលទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងប្រហែលហើយបើសិនជាឡានមួយ $12000 $10,000 ហើយពន្ធ 20% ពន្ធភាគរយអញ្ចឹងគិតឲ្យចែកឲ្យ 100 ដើម្បីរកភាគរយយក 20 ចែកឲ្យ 100 20% 20ចែកឲ្យ 100 គុណឲ្យ $10,000 ទៅអញ្ចឹងយើងឃើញគឺចម្លើយចេញមកគឺ $20,000 $10,000 20% $10,000 គឺ $20,000 អញ្ចឹង AV ស្រួលគឺគ្រាន់តែយកអភិរយនេះគុណឲ្យតម្លៃសរុបនៃឡានអត់មានខ្វល់ឡានប្រមាណទេសំខាន់តម្លៃនៃឡានអត់មានថ្លឹងគីឡូឡានទេសំខាន់តម្លៃនៃឡានអញ្ចឹង 20% អាច $20,000 ប៉ុន្តែបើសិនជាឡានហ្នឹង $20,000 ចុះ 20% វាអាចប៉ុន្មានវិញបើឡានហ្នឹង $20,000 ចុះ 20% នេះ $40,000 យ៉ាអញ្ចឹងគឺ 20% ដដែលប៉ុន្តែតម្លៃ AV tariff នេះគឺនឹងផ្លាស់ប្ដូរដោយសារតែវាអាស្រ័យទៅលើតម្លៃនៃឡានអញ្ចឹងស្រួលទេតម្លៃប៉ុន្មានទោះបីពន្ធនឹងនៅដដែលប៉ុន្តែតម្លៃនៃពន្ធហ្នឹងគឺនឹងឡើងទៅតាមឡានបើឡានហ្នឹងមកសល់ត្រឹម $10,000 ទេមុន $10,000 ដល់សល់ $10,000 អញ្ចឹង 20% នៃ $10,000 បានគឺបង់តែ $2,000 ទេអញ្ចឹង AV វាស្រួលកណនីគ្រាន់តែយកភាគរយនៃ tariff ហ្នឹង tariff ដែលគេកំណត់ហ្នឹងភាគរយហ្នឹងយកទៅគុណឲ្យតម្លៃនៃតំណែងហ្នឹងទៅគឺបង់ពន្ធបានហើយវាទៅយើងឡានយើងទិញកាំរីទីអីមកអញ្ចឹងកាំរីយើងនៅនោះតែ $6,000 ទេឧទាហរណ៍តែដល់ពេលមកដល់ខ្មែរយើងត្រូវបង់ប្រហែលបង់ 200% អញ្ចឹង 200% ប្រហែល $6,000 នៃ $6,000 គឺយើងត្រូវថែមត្រូវបង់ពន្ធ $12,000 មិនអញ្ចឹង 200% គឺ $6,000 គុណឲ្យ2ដងទៅយើងឃើញ $12,000 $12,000 បូកឲ្យតម្លៃដើមនៃឡាន $6,000 អញ្ចឹងឡាននាំចូលមកស្រុកខ្មែរមួយប្រហែលកាំរីមួយឧទាហរណ៍ $18,000 បាទ $6,000 តម្លៃដើមឡានប៉ុន្តែពន្ធ 200% ពន្ធ 200% នៃ $6,000 គឺបានគឺ $12,000 ចឹង $12,000 បូកឲ្យថ្លៃដើមនៃតម្លៃឡាន $6,000 មកលក់នៅស្រុកខ្មែរ $18,000 ប៉ុន្តែបូកឲ្យតម្លៃស្អីផ្សេងទៀត financial charge ដែលខ្ញុំនិយាយហ្នឹងមានអីផ្សេងទៀតវាសរុបទៅឡានហ្នឹងតម្លៃ $20,000 ទៀតវាថែម 2,000 ទៀតយកចំណេញឬក៏ថែម $8,000 យកចំណេញវាឡើង $21,000 អញ្ចឹង AV ស្រួលណាស់ AV ឡើងថ្លៃចុះគឺអាស្រ័យទៅលើតម្លៃនៃឡានលេខស៊ីស570ពន្ធ 200% បើលេខស៊ីសហ្នឹងតម្លៃនៅលក់នៅអារ៉ាប់គឺ $10,000 អញ្ចឹងមកដល់ស្រុកខ្មែរ 200% នៃ $10,000 គឺវា $20,000 អញ្ចឹង $20,000 បូកឲ្យតម្លៃដើមនៃឡានទៅគឺឃើញប្រហែលគឺ $30,000 អញ្ចឹងឡានលេខស៊ីស571ដែលលក់នៅអារ៉ាប់ $10,000 នាំចូលមកស្រុកខ្មែរត្រូវបង់ពន្ធ 200% គឺឡើងដល់ប្រហែល $30,000 ស្រួលបំផុតអត់ពិបាកបែងចែកប៉ុន្តែស្រាប់តែខ្មែររដ្ឋាភិបាលយើងតែឲ្យពួកយើងទៅចរចាយើងអត់យល់យើងស្រាប់តែឡានមិនបាច់គិតតម្លៃទេពន្ធគិតទៅគីឡូនោះឡាន1គីឡូត្រូវនាំចូល1គីឡូគឺគិត$100ស្រាប់ដល់ពេលមកយកឡានមកថ្លឹងលេង10000វាស្មើ1តោនអញ្ចឹងយើងនេះទៅ1គីឡូយើងយក$100អញ្ចឹង1000គីឡូយើងឃើញបានអញ្ចឹងគាត់ដាក់បង់ពន្ធដោយសារលើគីឡូហ្នឹងឈួតអញ្ចឹងបើសិនជាយើងចង់ឲ្យពន្ធថោកយើងដាក់ពន្ធត្រឹម1គីឡូនៃឡានយកតែ$10ទេអញ្ចឹង1000គីឡូឡានអត់គិតតម្លៃអត់ខ្វល់តែឡានថ្លៃប៉ុន្មានទេសំខាន់គិតគីឡូអញ្ចឹងអត់មាន percentage ទេឥឡូវគឺដាក់តម្លៃលុយហ្មងប៉ុន្តែតម្លៃលុយនៃគីឡូអញ្ចឹងបើសិនជា1គីឡូយើងយក$10អញ្ចឹងឡាន1000គីឡូវាឡើងដល់ប្រហែលវាឡើងដល់$10,000អញ្ចឹងទៅអញ្ចឹងអាហ្នឹងបើយើងគិតជា specific tariff ក្នុង NAV ចឹង NAV វាមានច្រើនប្រភេទឥឡូវយើងនិយាយ specific សិន specific ហ្នឹងគឺយើងយកតម្លៃដែលគេកំណត់ហ្នឹងនៃ physical quantity of good យ៉ាងគីឡូក្រាមយ៉ាងនេះឧទាហរណ៍ដូចលុកខ្សែយើងនាំចូលមកខ្សែគេអត់គិតបើយើងគិត AV គឺបើខ្សែតម្លៃប៉ុន្មានពុនវាត្រូវគិតតាមហ្នឹងប៉ុន្តែគឺពុនអត់មានគិតពី100ទេយើងគិតជាប្រវែងខ្សែ1ម៉ែត្រគឺត្រូវបង់ពុន$1អញ្ចឹងបើសិនជាខ្សែនឹងនាំចូលមក10ម៉ែត្រត្រូវបង់ពុនប្រហែលអត់ខ្វល់តម្លៃទេគឺ1ម៉ែត្រ$1អញ្ចឹង10ម៉ែត្រនាំចូលមកឯងត្រូវបង់ពុន$10តែតម្លៃផ្សេងអាហ្នឹងអត់ដឹងអាហ្នឹងរឿងឯងពីព្រោះខ្ញុំអត់គិតរឿងតម្លៃទេខ្ញុំគិតពុនរឿងប្រវែងអានោះ specific tariff ស្អីគេទៀត pair ស្បែកជើងអ្នកឯងខ្ញុំមិនខ្វល់តម្លៃស្បែកជើងប៉ុន្មានប៉ុន្តែនាំចូលមកស្រុកខ្ញុំមកស្បែកជើងមកគូខ្ញុំយក$3ចុះបើតែឯងនាំចូលមក30គូប្រហែល$3គុណឲ្យ30ប្រហែលគឺ$90អញ្ចឹងទេឃើញទាំងអស់វាសរុប$30ទៅ$90ពីព្រោះ$3មកគូអញ្ចឹង30គូហ្មងអាហ្នឹងគិតពី number ជា pair អញ្ចឹងអានេះគឺវាមានប្រភេទច្រើននៃ physical quantity វាអាស្រ័យទៅលើតើយើងចំណាត់ថ្នាក់នៃតំណែងនឹងវាមិនជា pair ជា lane ជា weight ជាអីប៉ុន្តែអត់ខ្វល់ពីតម្លៃនៃរបស់ហ្នឹងទេពុនគឺអាស្រ័យទៅលើទម្ងន់អាស្រ័យទៅលើ physical quantity got a point okay យល់ចាប់ឲ្យបានណា all right guys very easy rightខ្ញុំសួរមួយបន្លែនាំចូលមកស្រុកខ្មែរគិតពុនតាមអីខ្ញុំសួរចេះវិញ
គីឡូ weight
គិតជាគីឡូក្រាមហើយយើងទៅគិតតម្លៃមិនយើងទៅគិតតម្លៃមួយតម្លៃវាមានការប្រែប្រួលវាអត់ fix ទេបន្លែវាអាចអត់លួយអញ្ចឹងទៅអញ្ចឹងគេអត់គិតនេះវាអត់ទៀងបើឡានវាទៀងថា 10000 មកដល់នេះដឹងតែ 10000 ទេពីព្រោះឡានវាអត់ចេះស្រកអត់ចេះអីទេអញ្ចឹងហើយគេអត់គិតរឿងគីឡូទេគេគិតជាតម្លៃវិញប៉ុន្តែអានោះវាមានស្រកមានអីចឹងបើយើងគិតគីឡូវាខាតនាំចូលនាំពីនោះមកស្រាប់តែប្រហែលគីឡូដល់ពេលមកដល់តាមព្រំដែនសល់តែប្រហែលគីឡូគិតពុនទៅវាមានខាតមានខុសមិនអីទៅអញ្ចឹងបើគិតជាតម្លៃវាអាចមានការប្រែប្រួលអញ្ចឹងគេគិតជាគីឡូវិញគេគិតជាគីឡូវាមានការងាយស្រួលគិតជាគីឡូគិតជាបន្លែហ្នឹងគិតជាគីឡូឬក៏បើស្បែកជើងគេអត់គិតពីតម្លៃគេគិតជា pair មកគូប្រហែលបើស្រាគេអត់គិតតម្លៃទេប៉ុន្តែស្រាមកដបប្រហែលគេដបហ្នឹងគឺជាស្អីដបហ្នឹងគឺជា number ហើយជា number នេះជា physical quantity ហើយស្អីគេទៀតទឹកអប់មកដបប្រហែលគេមកដបពុនយកប្រហែលគេមិនថាទឹកអប់$10យកពុនប៉ុណ្ណេះ$20យកពុនប៉ុណ្ណេះទេអត់គិតពីតម្លៃទេសំខាន់គឺ1ដប2ដប1គីឡូ2គីឡូ3ម៉ែត្រ4ម៉ែត្រ1គូ2គូ3កញ្ចប់4កញ្ចប់គេស្អីគេទៀតដែលបកមកបកប្រហែលអញ្ចឹងគេគិតពុនទៅលើ physical quantity អាហ្នឹងគឺជា specific tariff នៅក្នុង NAV non ad valorem ad valorem ប្រែមកថាតម្លៃអញ្ចឹង non ad valorem គឺមិនតាក់ទងនឹងតម្លៃតែតាក់ទងទៅនឹង physical quantity សម្រាប់ specific tariff and physical quantity is very hard for developing country like Cambodia because we have no any specialized laboratory equipment laboratory equipment to measure kilogram to measure length to measure for example some products are very small are too tiny that we cannot use simple weight to weigh them so we need to use microscope not microscope to check the actual kilogram the actual weight of them so it's very hard very complicated because it's very technical we need more laboratory equipment to support but for developed country like the US like UK like Canada Australia they have very highly advanced technology to measure the kilogram to measure the weight to measure the length of the good so the specific tariff as the form of an AV here that is expressed in the physical quantity is always burdensome is always hard for the country is always problematic or troublesome for the country that have no enough technological capacity, especially laboratory equipment. For example, the European Union charge duty on certain dairy product based on the weight of lactic matter in the product. And the US charge a tariff on raw canned sugar that vary with the source contents of the sugar. So here it's very technical that you cannot find kilogram. How can you weigh the contents of the sugar? For example, how can you find the kilograms of the contents of sugar? How much is salt? You cannot find. Little that we cannot use the a simple way to measure their quantity, to measure their weight, to measure their kilogram. So we normally, small or developing country like Cambodia, we always use AV because AV is very simple. Just see the percentage of what they have committed so far, and then multiply by the actual value or the actual price of that good, and then we can see the actual value of that 25% of AV tariff, AVUT. Okay, again, we have AV and an AV, and inside an AV we have, first one is specific tariff that is based on physical quantity. So I want to confirm with you guys, are you right now okay with that? Fine, clear? Okay, be clear,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Very good. Move on. So right now we finish one part of an AV again. It is an AV, not based on price, but based on physical quantity. The second part of an AV, okay, so let me give you one example. Okay, as I said, in January 2019, I told you many times that the EU imposed a gap measure on Cambodian nickel rice and also rice from Myanmar. An investigation has confirmed a significant increase of import of illegal rice from Cambodian Myanmar to the European Union that has caused economic damage to the European Union user. The European Commission has therefore decided today to reintroduce import duty that will be steadily reused over the period of 3 years. According to the Commission decision, to be published in tomorrow official journal as of January 18, the European Union will reinstate the normal custom duty. Because previously the European Union did not instate any normal custom duty because we enjoy EBA from EU that we can export to EU duty-free, quota-free. Okay, no UT, no tariff, no anything on Cambodian product. But right now, as of January 18, 2019, European Union, after finding that Cambodian illegal rice has excessively entered European market, decided to reinstate a normal custom duty on a product of 175 euro per ton in year 1, progressively reducing to only 150 euro per ton, and then in year 3, 125 euro per ton. Okay, so 3 consecutive years. So my question is that we can move on to second example. The U.S. ordered additional tariff of 10% on 200 billions of Chinese import, including numerous optical products. Okay? So example number 1. Example number 2. Which one is specific tariff as the form of an AV? Come on. Read carefully. Which
Hello.
one is
Number 1, teacher.
Yeah.
Hello.
Based on what form of physical quantity? Based on what?
For the European tariff, the European Union tariff, it is the specific tariff, while the US tariff is the AV tariff.
Yes, yes. Very good, very good. And what is the form of specific tariff of physical quantity specific tariff that EU imposed on Cambodia? On balloons, on pair, on what?
On weight.
Exactly. Very good answer. Very good observation. So the first case is specific tariff that EU imposed on Cambodian nickel rice, not in the percentage term compared with the price, but here based on the ton, based on the weight, kilogram, pound, okay, of Cambodian rice and Myanmar rice into EU. And you can see here the price of the tariff is expressed in the real euro number. Okay, no need to put in percentage term. We put the actual number of the price, and then per kilogram, per pounds, okay, per weight. Okay, make it simple. And second case, second example is the percentage compare or over the price value of the good. 10% on 20 or 200 billion US dollars. So you can imagine how much. You can figure out how much is the actual price of the 10%. Anybody can give me the answer? What is the 10% of the 200 billion US dollar that US will impose on Chinese import into the US? How much?
20
Easy.
billion.
On 20 billion, teacher.
20 or 200? Oh yeah. 20 or 40? 20 or 40?
20 billion, sir.
Yeah, very good. 20, yeah. 20 billions US dollar, equivalent to 10% on the 200 billion US dollar that the US imposed on Chinese import into the US. So you can see here, second case is called AV tariff because it is based on the percentage term over the appraised value of the good, while the first case is the actual price of the tariff per wage, per physical quantity. Are you clear right now? I want to confirm before I move on. Okay? Clear now?
Yeah.
Yes, teacher. Yes.
So very good. Okay. I want that answer. The second one.
Sure. Can I clarify one thing, sir?
Yeah, come on.
Sure. So when you pay tariff, you pay when your good arrive on the dry dock, or you pay before it ship out?
You pay. You mean, yeah? What form you want? If the dry port, you will pay. If you know dry port, it means that you import before you export. You will need to transport your good into the dry port, and then they will order. I mean, the General Department of Customs and Excise, will order the officer to check your good and then pay the tariff right there, and then we'll put the stamp right there. Okay. So if you already paid your tariff in the dry port that has been examined and then taken the tariff price by the custom officer with the stamp put on the good, you will just, when you go to the border, no needs to pay to the foreign country. No needs to pay to the foreign country because they are already working with the custom officer of Cambodia to get the price of the import tariff for the good that we are deemed to export to the foreign country. Okay. But normally, dry port is applicable for the, as I heard from the, I have never seen any law that mentions about the dry port, but as I heard from my friend who are the custom officer, dry port are mostly for the imported good, not exported good. It means that when they export to Cambodia, they will not impose, they will not collect the tariff at the border, but when the good come into Cambodia, and then they will stop at the dry port, and then the custom officer will come to examine to see the good, whether the good are declaring the import tariff, and then if not yet, they will impose the tariff right there and then put the stamp on it, and then we can actually disperse for local. So that is the dry port. But for the not the dry port case, let's say at the border, you will need to pay the tariff right there, right there. Not at your production site, not during transportation from the country B, but when you're right at the border that you wish to export to country A, you need to pay the tariff to the custom officer of country A right there. And the tariff is based on the transaction price, okay? Not transportation price, but based on the transaction price. We don't care about how much you have spent extra, okay, on transportation, but we calculate 25% on you actually paid for the good that has been shipped from the country B. It's about custom violation that we have one session for that, but I want to, it's very complicated because sometimes you might question yourself, what is the actual price of the a good that we need to use in order to violate the custom price? Because custom price, as I said, in AV term, is always dependent on the actual appraised price of the good. But how do you know appraised price of the good? From the port, at the border, from the warehouse in transport. So that is the question that will be answered in the custom violation agreement that I'm gonna have one sessions for that. Don't worry, we're gonna see when will we use the what price that we can យើងលឺអត់គ្នាយើង
Yes, like
ខ្ញុំនិយាយតែខ្ញុំដាច់អ៊ីនធឺណិតហើយខ្ញុំនិយាយតែឯង sorry ឥឡូវខ្ញុំសួរម្ដងទៀត example មិញយើងបានឃើញ example គឺ here can you see the slide right now okay ឃើញ slide នេះគ្នាយើង
Yes.
ឥឡូវខ្ញុំសួរថាឥឡូវវាមាននិយាយដាក់ពន្ធ2ទី1ហ្នឹងគឺ 15% AV ឬក៏$87ក្នុង1ម៉ែត្រនៃកណាត់ហ្នឹងឥឡូវបើសិនជាយើងនាំចូលកណាត់មួយទៅឥណ្ឌាកណាត់ហ្នឹងគឺ1ម៉ែត្រ1 square meter ហើយតម្លៃកណាត់ហ្នឹងគឺ$100អញ្ចឹងរវាង 15% AV ហើយនឹង87ឬក៏$7 per square meter ដាក់ទៅលើ fabric ហ្នឹងតើឥណ្ឌានឹងឲ្យយើងបង់ពន្ធមួយណាដែល generate higher income សម្រាប់ឥណ្ឌាឥណ្ឌានឹងឲ្យយើងបង់ពន្ធមួយណា
Sure. You haven't explained this yet before you got disconnected.
Oh my god, okay. អញ្ចឹងពួកយើងមិននិយាយខ្មែរមកពួកយើងមិនយើងដឹង specific tariff យើងយល់ច្បាស់ទៅ specific tariff physical quantity okay
Okay, yes.
អញ្ចឹង mixed tariff គឺជា one mixed tariff is another form of an AV as well but mixed tariff include both AV and specific tariff so in mixed tariff we have AV and specific tariff included but they are applied alternatively. Not both of them are applied simultaneously, but they are applied alternatively. If AV generate higher revenue for the certain product, they will apply AV. But if specific tariff seems to generate more income from that product in terms of tariff, they will apply. I mean, the Indian authority will apply specific tariff. Okay. So in mixed tariff, okay, it's the combination between specific tariff and AV tariff. But Indian government, I mean the government that imposed this two tariff has to choose only one when it apply in reality. And which one that is to choose? They would choose the one that create the highest revenue from the product. យើងជំរឿសឲ្យពីក្នុង mixed tariff គឺឲ្យជំរឿសពី AV មួយ specific មួយ specific អាទី1យើងមើលមិញអញ្ចឹងអា AV យើងបង់តាមតម្លៃហើយយើងដាក់តម្លៃអា AV មួយយើងដាក់ specific មួយចូលក្នុង mixed tariff ប៉ុន្តែ apply បានតែមួយទេអាណាដែលឲ្យតម្លៃខ្ពស់ជាងអញ្ចឹងយើង look at the case of India គាត់ដាក់ពន្ធទៅលើ rayon fabric ហ្នឹងគឺជាពីរទម្រង់ក្នុង gallon គាត់ schedule of concession របស់ India ហ្នឹងវាមានពីរវាមាន slash ទី1គឺ 15% AV ឬក៏$87ខ្ញុំនិយាយដុល្លារចុះស្រួល$87 per square meter of fabric ហ្នឹងឥឡូវឧទាហរណ៍យើងសន្មតថា fabric ហ្នឹងតម្លៃ$100ហើយមានប្រវែង1ម៉ែត្រប្រវែង1ម៉ែត្រហើយ$100អញ្ចឹងបើយើងជារដ្ឋាភិបាលឥណ្ឌាហើយយើងមានជំរឿសពីរដាក់ក្នុង schedule របស់យើងហើយយើងដាក់រួច$15 15%ហើយនឹង$87ឥឡូវ fabric ហ្នឹងគឺ1ម៉ែត្រ square ហើយ$100តើរដ្ឋាភិបាលឥណ្ឌាគួរយកពន្ធមួយណាគួរយក form មួយណាដើម្បី apply ទៅលើតំណែងហ្នឹងមានជំរឿសពីរ So which one? Huh? Easy.
specific, teacher.
Why specific?
Because it's $87 per square meter, so it's higher than 50%, which will be only $15.
Exactly. Okay. So India has two options. India include two options right here into its schedule of concession for rayon fabric. And if the price of rayon fabric is only $100, they will apply the specific tariff because specific tariff is $87 per square or per fabric because one fabric is 1 square meter. Okay. So they will apply specific tariff of $87 here because 15% of the price of the good is only $15. So compared to 87 specific tariff, $87 specific tariff, $87 specific tariff is higher than 15%. I mean $15 per rayon fabric. So here India will choose the second option, because the second option generate higher revenue than the first option. But what if the price? What if the price of the rayon fabric is $1,000 per square meter? Which one that India should apply?
The
1,000
first
US.
one, the first one instead, teacher.
Yeah, because the first one would generate more than would generate $150, right? True.
Yes, teacher, because it's $1,000.
Yeah. Because $1,000 the actual value of rayon fabric, while the second option generate only $57, even though the price of the rayon fabric is $1,000. So the first option right now become higher than the second option. So Indian government would apply the first option, and the importing people, importing trader or importer have no right to resist again Indonesia, because it is the right of India to choose either one that create the highest revenue among the others. Okay. The case number 2, Japan imposed tariff on
Hello, Lex. We cannot hear you. Hiền tóc à?
Cho đặt vào đấy.
Vì sao phải điện tao?
ខ្ញុំពេលហមមួយគឹមហួរ
ទៅគាត់តាម Telegram ដែរប៉ុន្តែ I think probably his internet connection is really weak. He didn't send my chat.
យើង end meeting ហ្មងយើងចាប់ហ្មងម៉ោង 8 កន្លះហើយ
យើងហ៊ានណា ឥឡូវមិនណាចាំដល់ 8:35 មកឆក់ចូលវិញទៅចាំលេខខ្ញុំ
ខ្ញុំចូលវិញតើ
អូខេ
ចង់ចាញ់
អត់ទេ
ដល់និយាយគ្នាចាញ់ភាសានៅគ្នាចាញ់30អូខេខ្ញុំមិនយល់ដល់អ៊ីនធឺណិតមិនបានគាត់ធ្វើបោកខ្ញុំយ៉ាងហ្នឹង I don't know ឥឡូវខ្ញុំសូមបញ្ចប់អាកន្លែង make cherry តិចដើម្បីឲ្យគ្នាយើងកុំឲ្យសប្តាហ៍ក្រោយចាប់អត់ទាន់ចឹងអត់អីទេតែ 2-3 នាទីទៀតទេណាអូខេ fine
yes
yes
sir
Yes sir
អត់អីពុំបានចេញមិនចាំសពគ្នាខ្ញុំលឺទាំងអស់ហើយ
Mix up.
Okay, okay, guys. Can you see the slide right now? Wait.
Yes, teacher, yes.
ឥឡូវករណីជប៉ុនណា30 AV ហើយនឹង$36 specific តើបើយើងជារដ្ឋាភិបាលជប៉ុនបើសិនជាស្បែកជើង Manalo Blenic នេះតម្លៃ$1000ក្នុងមួយភាគហើយយើងគួរតែ apply AV ឬក៏ apply specific NAV យើងមានជម្រើសពីរ So which one?
AV ចា
AV.
Right? ហេតុអ្វីបានយក AV?
because we earn $300 more.
Exactly, because 30% of $1,000 will be $300 per pair of the shoe, because the shoe one pair costs $1,000, while for the specific one, 36% only per pair. អញ្ចឹងយើងបាន$300សម្រាប់ AV ប៉ុន្តែយើងបានតែ$36សម្រាប់មួយ pair ក្នុងករណី specific អញ្ចឹងរដ្ឋាភិបាលជប៉ុននឹងយក AV ជាជាង NAV អញ្ចឹងអាណាដែលមាន generate income ច្រើនជាងក្នុងការជប៉ុនគឺយកអាហ្នឹង Got a point? All right? Clear?
Teacher, I have a question. Teacher, AV here refer to a pair too, right, teacher?
Yeah, AV គិតជា pair ប៉ុន្តែគិតជាតម្លៃអត់មាន column pair ទេគិតជាតម្លៃអានេះខ្ញុំនិយាយថាមួយ pair បើយើងគិតជា pair ឬគិតជាតម្លៃ AV នេះគឺយើងយកទៅពីព្រោះខ្ញុំចង់ប្រៀបធៀបដោយសារយកតែបញ្ជើងមួយគូដូចគ្នាបើខ្ញុំយកអានោះបើជើង100គូយកមក compare មួយគូមិនកើតពីព្រោះ100គូតម្លៃផ្សេងឡើយយើងគិតតែមួយគូហើយគិតពីតម្លៃគិតជាគូយើង compare យកមួយហ្នឹងតើយក AV ឬក៏ NAV អា pair ដូចគ្នាប៉ុន្តែមួយ pair ក៏ជាតម្លៃមួយ pair ក៏ជា pair អូខេយើងអាចយកមក pair មកប្រៀបធៀបមួយ1000 pair មិនដឹងថា
So teacher, so if we think that AV is like a pack of 100 pairs of shoes, then we have to divide it.
No. Yes, per pair, right? $1,000 per pair. That's why I put pair after $1,000 here in order to show the same quantity of good, okay? The same quantity, but the first one based on price, the second one based on pair. អញ្ចឹងតែមួយដូចគ្នាប៉ុន្តែអាមួយគិតតម្លៃអាមួយពុនគិតតាមតម្លៃអាមួយពុនគិតតាម pair អញ្ចឹងដល់ពេលយើងគិតតាមតម្លៃគឺយើងបានច្រើនជាងគឺមួយ pair $1000 អញ្ចឹងហើយ 30% នៃមួយ pair គឺយើងគិតមើល30% នៃ$1000វាស្មើ300អូខេប៉ុន្តែដល់ពេលនោះយក specific គឺយើងគិតមួយ pair គឺ$36យើងមិនខ្វល់ថា$1000 $10000មួយ pair ប៉ុណ្ណឹងឲ្យតែមួយ pair 36អញ្ចឹងបើយើងយក AV វាចំណេញច្រើនជាងដោយសារមួយ pair វា$1000យើងចំណេញបានដល់$300សម្រាប់ការយកពុនអញ្ចឹងយើងមិនយក AV មិនចឹងពីព្រោះអានេះជា mix tariff ដែលជា option ដែលយើងអាចយកមួយណាក៏បានដែល generate higher revenue. Okay?
Lecture, so the government have the right to change their mind according to their revenue. That is that okay?
Yes. We don't change the mind. Okay? We put there, and it depends on the price. We have not made any decision យើងអត់មាន decision គឺយើងដាក់ជំរើសពីរយើងយកមួយណាក៏បានណាបើយើង apply ទាំងពីរណាបើ apply ទាំងពីរហើយយើងយកតែមួយបានថាយើង change mind ពីព្រោះយើង apply ពីរប៉ុន្តែយើងយកតែមួយប៉ុន្តែនេះយើងដាក់ទាំងពីរប៉ុន្តែអត់ទាន់ apply មួយណាទេ apply មិន apply គឺស្រាវទៅលើតម្លៃអញ្ចឹងបើតម្លៃមួយហ្នឹងវាស្រាប់តែឲ្យ generate សម្រាប់ AV ច្រើនជាងយើង apply AV យើងទៅ decide ទេយើងដាក់ទាំងពីរ stand by ហ្នឹងឯងអូខេពីរហ្នឹងជាជម្រើសពាក្យថា option គឺ stand by ត្រូវចាំសង្សារម្នាក់សង្សារមនុស្សស្រីម្នាក់មនុស្សប្រុស2នាក់មានសង្សារ2នាក់សួរថារៀបការមួយបណ្ណាគាត់ទាន់សម្រេចទេគាត់ stand by អូខេតទៅពេលគាត់ថាអ្នកណានឹងផលប្រយោជន៍ជាងនោះណាគាត់សម្រេចអូខ្ញុំយកអានោះពីព្រោះខ្ញុំទុកជាជម្រើសតាំងពីដើមហើយ for example clear example easy okay so right now you got a point make steady okay
Yes, thank you.
we cannot use 1,000 pair okay to compare with one pair that is very unequal in the beginning but here we use one pair and the other one pair but this one pair costs $1,000 and the tariff is based on the value the price of that good that one pair while the other one the tariff is per pair so we don't care about the price of one pair but we care about one pair one number $36 per pair. So here AV is more preferred because it generates more income than an AV specific. So again, mixed tariff is second part of an AV tariff, non-ad valorem tariff. Okay, and second one, third one, third one, compound tariff ខ្ញុំសូមបញ្ចប់មួយនេះទៀតដើម្បីឲ្យនេះ compound tariff ដូចមិន tariff ដែរប៉ុន្តែ apply ទាំងពីរ okay. The tariff that include both ad valorem and specific component or specific tariff អាមិន tariff យកមួយអត់មួយប៉ុន្តែនេះគឺដាក់ទាំងពីរ For example number 1 the Pakistan charge OIS 0.88 per liter of some petroleum product plus 25% ad valorem អញ្ចឹងក្នុង1លីត្រ Pakistan គាត់យក 0.88 US ដុល្លារខ្ញុំនិយាយដុល្លារចុះហើយក្នុង1លីត្រហ្នឹងគាត់បូក 25% នៃតម្លៃរបស់សាំងនឹងទៀតអញ្ចឹងបើសិនជាសាំងហ្នឹងវា1លីត្រ1ដុល្លារអញ្ចឹងត្រូវយក1ដុល្លារបូកឲ្យ 0.88 ដុល្លារបូកឲ្យ 25% នៃ1ដុល្លារគឺ 25 កាក់ទៀតអញ្ចឹងវាឃើញប្រហែលវាឃើញ 72 ដុល្លារបាទ 2 ដុល្លារជាងពីព្រោះបូកអា specific ផងបូក AV ផងពីព្រោះពីរហ្នឹងគឺ apply simultaneously on one product apply ទាំងពីរ compound មកណាយល់ពី compound center មក you got a point ដូចអា mix tariff ប៉ុន្តែគាត់នេះ apply ទាំងពីរ you got a point clear
Yes, teacher. Yes.
easy យើងយល់ mix tariff ស្រួលទេ mix tariff គឺយកមួយណាដែល generate more income យើងយកហ្នឹងហើយ compound យើងយកទាំងពីរហើយបើយើងអត់ជួយយើងទៅមើល schedule of concession របស់កម្ពុជាទៅមើលមានផលិតផលខ្លះយើងយក compound យើងយក AV ហើយយើងដាក់ N $1 per kilogram ជាផ្សេងអង្គនៅពេលដែលយើងនាំចូលមកគឺយើងដាក់ពន្ធ compound tariff វាមានទាំងពីរយ៉ាង specific យ៉ាង ad valorem ហើយខ្ញុំឲ្យ example number 2 the US apply 4% US 4% ad valorem tariff and $5 per pair on imported shoe. This tariff is bound and applied tariff the US has committed in its schedule of concession and debate. Okay. In 2018, Cambodia export 10,000 pair of Adidas shoe worth $50 million into the US. So how much compound tariff was paid by Cambodia in 2008 to the US? How much? នេះយើងតើពន្ធមានពីរមាន ad valorem មួយមាន specific មួយសំណួរខ្ញុំសួរតើកម្ពុជាត្រូវបង់ពន្ធប្រមាណសម្រាប់ 10000 pair ដែលមានតម្លៃ $250 លានទៅក្នុងអាមេរិកឆ្នាំ 2008 ក្នុង compound tariff កម្ពុជាបង់ប្រមាណ
ចាអាហ្នឹងគិតតូតាទាំងពីរហ្នឹងត្រូវចា
គិតទាំងពីរបូតអត់មានឈ្មោះ I don't want ពីណា
4% នៃ250លានចេញ10លានបូក$5 per pair 10000 pair អញ្ចឹង1លាន10លាន 50000 ចា
Very good very smart I'm very poor but I need to calculate like more than 10 minutes to find the answer okay for the AV yes for AV 4% we divide by 100 in order to find the actual value of that 4% and then multiply by the whole value of the product $250 million. So the AV alone stands for $10 million for the tariff. And for an AV, $5 per pair. And then how many pair? 10,000 pair. So $5 multiplied by 10,000 pair. So we got another extra of $50,000. So the overall compound tariff for the 1,000 or 10,000 pair that Cambodia export into the US in 2018 would incur the tariff of around $10 million and $10 million and $50,000. Because right now we apply both of them simultaneously at the same time on the same product, on one single product. Clear? អត់ខុសមុននេះខុសផងតែអានេះយកទាំងពីរណាអាមុនយកតែមួយទេអានេះ compound tariff clear now
Yes.
Okay, very good. អញ្ចឹងយើងប៉ុណ្ណឹងសិនហើយខ្ញុំសូមទៅដើរលេងគោខ្ញុំគិតថាអាទិត្យក្រោយចាំយើងបញ្ចប់មេរៀនហ្នឹងហើយយើងចូលមេរៀនថ្មីហើយអាទិត្យក្រោយខ្ញុំអាចមាន quiz ហើយខ្ញុំនឹងប្រាប់តើ specification នៃ quiz ខ្ញុំចេញអីគេខ្លះដល់តែ3មេរៀនហ្នឹងហើយប៉ុន្តែត្រៀមមើលបដាពីព្រោះ quiz វាអាចសំខាន់ដល់បន្ទុករបស់យើងដែលអាចជា indicator មួយសម្រាប់បង្ហាញគណៈកម្មការអាហារូបករណ៍ថាយើងបានរៀនប្រឹងប្រែងកម្រិតណាណាអញ្ចឹងប្រឹងឲ្យខ្លាំងក្នុង session នេះអត់ខ្ញុំអត់ពិបាកសម្រាប់សិស្សទេប៉ុន្តែក៏មិនស្រួលវិញដែរគឺគួរសមណាអញ្ចឹងសុំទោសវារៀងញ៉ៃមកជា yes come on
Not sure we don't have class next week, so is it like next week?
Next week we have class, okay.
Okay.
Next week we have class, okay. I know you don't want to have class, but we have no choice because again your class always fall on holiday. Do you recognize that? Do you admit that Friday always fall on holiday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I feel why Friday students are so lucky that they always have holiday, and I feel so guilty, you know, when my lesson is too slow, too late. But not my mistake, not your mistake, because of holiday mistake. But so we have to compensate by doing a make-up class. I don't count as make-up class, but I want to make sure that we are catch up with the lesson well, what we have planned so far. Okay, so hope we have no question for now because we will resume this session in next week, maybe half an hour or 1 hour and a half or something to finish this chapter and a quiz. Then we will just I think only around 5 or 7 more slides to finish. So I think next week we can have a short makeup class and then one quiz. Okay. So hope you enjoy your holiday tomorrow and the day after tomorrow with your loved one and family. And I myself with my brother as well in Siem Reap. Enjoy some sightseeing in Angkor area. Okay. Have a nice day, guys. See you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye, teacher.
Goodbye.